couple months ago, I saw a video clip of Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent making an observation that in the summer of 2024, more Americans than ever before traveled to Europe. It was a record. And also in the summer of 2024, more Americans than ever required food assistance. And he was saying, he was kind of shocked at that statistics. You know, one doing well and one can't even make food on the table. And so he went to food banks and asked, well, what's the story? And the story is this, that the people that they see new coming to the food banks were people who worked. But because of the food inflation, as you well know, that they couldn't make it. And so they had to come to the food bank to get 4 or 5 items to stock up, to meet the next week. And he said, that's not a great America because of that divide. Now, his solution as Secretary of Treasury was to grow the economy. And that is a solution, but is not the solution that the prophet Amos would provide. Because the prophet Amos is having something exactly similar as to what Scott Bessent had said. Because all of a sudden he gives the sayings, look at all these people, that they're lying on beds of ivory. That's pretty expensive. That they're eating meat every day, which at that time you didn't do because there's no refrigeration, there's no freezing. So you had to eat the meat that day, or maybe the next day. Otherwise, it would spoil. And so it was a luxury that they were having each and every day. They were, lying around composing songs, the life of luxury. And yet they weren't caring about their brother Joseph, who was starving. And because of that, he condemns them. But we see a microcosm of that, an individual case of this in this parable that Jesus gives. Having the rich man who dines sumptuously every day, dresses in fine linen, and never sees Lazarus at his date. And for that, he was condemned. It is not that he did anything bad to Lazarus. He did not do anything bad. Or didn't kick him, didn't talk evil about him, didn't do anything, and that's the point. He didn't even see him. And because he didn't see him, he didn't do anything for him. That's really the challenge for all of us. As I thought about that statistic of going to Europe, more people, it's not like you needed to be Elon Musk to go to Europe anymore. It's within the grasp of a lot of people. But that's not the problem. The problem is ignoring your neighbor, not reaching out to them. The solution Scott Bessent provided was, hey, let's go and raise the economy and everybody will just do fine. The solution Amos and Jesus would provide is, do you see your neighbor? Do you reach out to your neighbor? Do you help your neighbor? It is one of the cases where even I realize how bad things are in our economy right now. I realize that the last 3 months, you guys your utility bills have almost doubled. I realize that just this last week, you get the wonderful news that we need to filtrate all our water systems. And so that means money. You're going to have to install a reverse osmosis or something to be able to drink clean water. All this costs money. And so the question is, how do we reach out and care for our neighbor when we ourselves are strapped? And that's where, in this parable, Lazarus bit long teeth the scraps that fell from the rich man's table. Do we have some clothes that we haven't used? Do we have some food that we haven't used? What do we have that we could give up to our neighbor? And even more than that, what can we give in our time and our talent for our neighbor? This past week, I we're teaching the corporal works of mercy to our children, and this week was about sheltering the homeless. And I told the kids, well, you ain't going to the inner city of St. Louis and helping the homeless. That is quite a bad idea. But what can you do? You know, maybe there's a person that's ostracized in the school. Maybe it's a stranger among us. How often have you heard people who are spiritually homeless, politically homeless, or whatever way, that they don't fit in? That doesn't take money. In a million and one ways, the problem is, do we see our neighbor? Do we see the Lazaruses around ourselves? And when we see them, no matter how rich or poor we are, can we go out and reach out to them to lift them up, to provide for the needs, even if we're not rich? As we come before this heavenly table, we give thanks for the gifts that we do have, but we're also invited to share with those who do not.